Steve and I were talking earlier about having senior moments, so I can certainly appreciate that. So it's my pleasure to welcome you to our closing session, and it's been a great conference. I want to take a minute to thank Teresa Todd and her staff, board members who were instrumental in putting this conference on, because any of you that have done something like this know it's a huge undertaking. So I want to thank them for their work. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for the closing session. George Duval's as a young child, George Duval's own family told him that he would be dead or in prison by the time he was 13. By the time he was 6, he was a thief, frequently truant from school, and involved in gangs. Then he spent 15 years in the foster care system, and spent many times in boys' facilities. Often when youth have these kinds of experiences early in life, they continue to struggle. Some even meet the fate that George's family predicted: incarceration and untimely death. But not George Duval. Today he's a college graduate, the director of programs for youth in foster care, and a nationally recognized motivational speaker, comedian, and trainer. He's also a devoted father and husband. He's from Kentucky, and I think he said it was his first time to Texas, and we welcome him here. And I'm delighted to introduce George Duval.
Every time I hear that story, I'm like, man, did I really do those things? Man, I'm so happy to be here. But next time y'all invite me to San Antonio, please let me know that it's hot. You guys have real heat. I will not go back to Kentucky complaining about being hot no more this summer. Man, my sweat was sweating when I got off the airplane. But I'm excited to be here. I tell you what, I thought that Alabama and Georgia were some of the friendliest people I've ever met. I don't know. I'm telling you, man, every time I went someplace last night, everybody, hey, how you doing? I'm like, man, you guys are freaking friendly, and I love it. So it's been a good conference so far? Good. Well, I'm excited. You know, I get excited about people who love to work with young people like I do. You know, and I see the smile on the face and the energy that's going on, and I really appreciate that. So let's send it out on a bang, by the way. So let me reintroduce myself. My name is George Duval, and I am from Kentucky. I flew in, and boy, my arms are tired. So I get to travel around, get to share my story. So let's think of it like this. I work with young people. I created a program many years ago that worked with youth in foster care. And one of the things, one of the reasons why, as a young person coming up in the foster care system, I thought it's important that when I got to the point where I was able to make it, that I gave back. And it's like, it gives back to me, and it's like fills into my bank as much as it does with dealing with the youth. And the program was created to create mentors that have gone through foster care to teach other young kids that go through foster care that it is possible that success can happen, okay? And to teach them the beginning of the chapter of their life is not the end of their life. Now, the chapter that was created was not created by them, right? But we can help them create their chapter, the final chapter, but it's all have to be on them, and give them responsibility and believe in them, because I would not be here if folks didn't believe in me and gave me the opportunity to learn. So, think about the situation as I begin to tell my story. Single mother of 5, 3 different fathers. No one involved, none of the fathers were involved in our lives. She was on welfare, we lived in the hood, poorest of the poor, right? By the time I was 4 years old, I used to walk about 3 or 4 miles from the ghettos of Lexington, Kentucky, to downtown, to a place called Woolworth. Yeah. Hey, relax. I'm just checking, because I went to Maine, and it was like, whoa, what? Okay, so I used to walk down to Woolworths, because Woolworths had this counter. When I walked in, all the candy was there, and I was a kid who loved candy, right? And so I'd go in, and man, the minute that cashier would turn his back, man, I steal those candy. Now laters, Boston baked beans, Chico sticks, and I took off running, because I was fast. I tell folks I like to thank the Lexington Police Department and their K-9 unit for my football training. So I took off and I was doing this every Saturday, right? I would take off down there, go steal the candy, until one day this girl stopped me. She said, "What do you got in your pocket?" I said, "Nothing." She said, "Well, pull your pockets out." So I did what every 4-year-old would do at that time. What do you think I did? I tried to run, but she blocked the entrance. She knew I was going to run. And there was no way she was going to catch me. All cried. And I'm talking about the ugly cry too. You know the one, the ugly cry. Like he died. And I pulled my pockets out and candy was all over the place. And she looked at me and she said, "You don't have to steal." I said, "Yes, I do." She said, "No, you don't. If you go pick up all those hangers on the floor, I'll give you a quarter." I said, "Ooh." So she went and got me an empty box, and I went over there, man, and I went and picked up all those hangers, and then sure enough, you know, she reached in the pocket, and the quarter must have came from God, because I swear that quarter started singing to me, because the quarter said, "Oh." So man, but you know what happens when you grow up in a situation like that. As I started to get older, the streets gave me my first dad, the first male role model, right? And so I was growing up in this kid, I was already fast, I was getting influenced. And so by the time I was 8 years old, I was already involved in gangs, truant from school, involved with fighting, in and out of the juvenile justice system over and over again. And I remember the day. I remember the day that it all happened. I was 8 years old. And I remember the judge that I'd been in front of so many times said something that just threw me for a loop. He looked at me, my mom, my public defender, and he told my mother, he said, "Miss Duvall, you are unfit to be a parent. We're taking George with us." Now, I didn't know what that meant at that time, but all I know, I saw mama crying, I'm gonna cry. And then when that man with the gun came from behind that bench, started walking towards me, oh, I really started crying. And he picked me up, and he started walking me out, right? And he put me in this holding cell. Now I wasn't new to holding cells. I'd been in and out of juvenile so many times, right? So, but this time it's different. He put me in this holding cell, and I'm the small little kid with all these big people. But when you grow up in the hood, the one thing you can't be is a punk, right? So he puts me in this holding cell. Now I'd already been tough. 8-year-old fighting 16-year-old. So I went over to the biggest one that was there. Walking straight up to him, I said, "Can you pick me up so I can see my mama?" And he picked me up, and my mama was sitting on a bench right outside there, and I looked through the little 4-inch window, and I was sitting there trying to wave to her, and then they took me to the juvenile detention center that I'd known for so long. But see, usually when I was in juvenile, a couple of hours, mama could come get me. A couple of hours go by, mama didn't come get me. A couple more hours come by, mama didn't come get me. Next thing I know, I wake up, and it's the next day. But there was a lady who I refer to as my angel. I don't know why this lady stayed in my life. She was a director of a child care center that I went to. And when I was 3 years old, for some reason, that's why I call her my angel, 3, until this day, she has been involved in my life. She knew people who knew people. And she called the director of that juvenile center and said, "Oh, you had an 18-year-old staying in a teenage facility? Oh, hold on a second, that's the news on the other line. I'll call you right back." Next thing you know, they came and got me out of there quickly. And they put me in a temporary facility right down the road. It's about 10 miles away from where I grew up at. But I'm mama's baby, right? So what do you think I'm gonna do when I get there? Oh, I'm out. I'm gone. So I waited for everybody to go to sleep. And then I took off running. But 10 miles, I can't run for that long. So I had to slow down. About 3 miles into it, man, whoop, whoop. Here comes a man. I that shook me. He put me in the car, and then he took me to McDonald's. I was like, what are you, some kind of super cop? You know what? He took me to McDonald's, bought me a Happy Meal, and he's sitting there trying, son, you don't have to run away, you got a facial problem. I mean, that Happy Meal like it's my last meal. And then he took me back to the place. But you know, you so, raise your hand if you're a social worker. Look, some of you like, you know you social workers, man, you always got a plan. There's always a plan. So the plan was for me to get at this temporary place until a foster home opened up 2 blocks away from my mom's house. Well, let's think about this. I just ran away from your facility 10 miles away from my mama. What do you think I'm gonna do 2 blocks away? Man, I went to school and came back home. But you always got a plan. See, the plan was to stay at the temporary place until another place opened up called the Bluegrass Boys Ranch. Now, I know y'all Texas folks talking about, okay, it's a ranch. I'm from the streets of Kentucky. The only ranch I know is ranch dressing. So the social worker comes up there, man, and she's driving down these windy roads, curving all over the place of Kentucky that I never even knew existed. And so, this boys' facility, right? We get there, man, this ranch. And all the kids, man, playing basketball this summer, right? They're playing basketball, doing their thing. And you know, when somebody new comes in, you are always the fish, right? So, they're playing basketball. All of a sudden, man, they stop. Shirts are off, and they start looking. Just mugging. 8-year-old boy sitting beside the social worker. And let me tell you something. One of them looked at me and said, we're gonna kick you. I said, oh. I told the social worker, I said, you can't leave me here. They're gonna kill me. So the social worker gets out of the car, and the youngest one that was there at the place at the time comes over, helps me with my bags, you know. We go back to the big community room, all the boys, the younger boys were staying at. Social worker and the director were sitting there talking. Then all of a sudden, man, you hear the pitter patter of all these feet running back there. And I'm like, what's going on? So then, the big one, you know, the one who has to set a mark, right, let me know what's going down. He has to let me know. He comes up to me, right? He goes, bang! And he punched me in the face. I'm all like, ow! Boom! And I hit the back and I started running. Because I told you I was fast. I was Speedy Gonzales fast. And I started running, right? And I'm running down the hallway. And the boys are after me. All of a sudden, man, I see one of those little exit signs. And I turn right towards the exit sign. And the exit sign leads me through the kitchen. And on the way out the kitchen, there was this big old blocks of knives. Right? So I'm slow motion type stuff. I grabbed a big old knife. Wing! And I'm standing out in the yard right now with this knife. And these boys come running out there. So I stop. This big dude starts walking toward me. He goes, yeah, I'm gonna kick you. I was like, come on. I'll cut a G in you. Come on. Come on. But then all of a sudden, the boy that was there had been there longer than me. Knew about the director, right? So the director must have been like 9'6", 9'7". This is what it sounds like when they come walking outside. And I'm sitting there with a knife, right? And this dude walks directly in front of me with this, well, I got a knife. He says, give me the knife, George. I said, I ain't giving you something that an 8-year-old shouldn't be saying. I ain't giving you nothing. And all of a sudden, man, his eyes burst into flames, and he did something that scared the mess out of him. He said, oh yeah, you're gonna give me the knife. He started chewing on his tongue. I said, threw the knife on the ground. He picked it up, and I said, please don't eat me. right? I have to go. So I do the fake snoring because the door of the place is right by the community room where all the boys are staying. So I'm all like, so I get up and I take off running. All of a sudden I realize I can't see. There's no street lights there. It's a freaking ranch in the country. So I start running. All I hear is moo. And I get to the road. And like trees were coming over the road, and all I could see was like just a moonlight coming through the trees just a little bit. And all of a sudden, man, it looked at an 8-year-old to an 8-year-old boy. It looked like the tree said, "Hey, little boy." I said, "Ah!" And I started running back to the light of the ranch. And I can't go back to the back door because it's one way out. So I have to go to the front door. And when I get to the front door, the director's standing there like this. And I can't even talk. I'm all like, and he's trying not to laugh. It's all over. He's like, as if he has experienced this before. He's like, I said, the trees. The trees said they were going to eat me. He's like, eat me. So I stayed there for a couple of years, right? I stayed there for a couple of years, but I was getting in trouble when I was going on my home visit with the same homies that I was getting in trouble with that helped get me into this situation. So this one particular day when I was supposed to go on this home visit to visit my brothers and my sisters, right? And my mom. I was down at the barn, all the other kids that went on their special trip. I was going home, so I was the only one there. Pops was a local person, which was the director's dad's father, and he was at the door, was supposed to be at the ranch. But I opened the ranch door, and for some reason, it opened the door to the director's room where he stayed. And me being Curious George, I had to go and investigate. So I just walked in just to see what was going on. So I was like, hey, hello. Nobody was there. And I was minding my own business, just looking around. And on that table was that money. You know, like the little sleeve that you get from the bank, you know, they give it to you and say, hey. I was minding my own business. All of a sudden, that sleeve of money said, hey, George. I said, Said, take me. I said, And I took it. I left, and I came back to the ranch with a bike. Now, I told you I was fast, but I wasn't very smart. Right? So the director come up to me and goes, hey, nice bike. I was like, So what'd you get? I said, my daddy bought it? Now, I told you already, my father wasn't even involved in my life. He knew that from the big old file that he got when the social worker came there. But then all of a sudden he started walking close, and I started remembering about that time we started doing all that. So I said, okay. I said, I took your money. And I admitted it. And he called my social worker. Next day, gotta go. Gotta go. Get him out of here. Gave him a chance. Gotta go. Social worker come pick me up. And I'm gonna tell you something. Out of all the social workers that I had, I only remember that one. She would come and get me in this little gold MR2. Right? I had my little bags. And the only reason why I remembered her is because she was hot. Oh my God, she was hot. Man, I used to sit in that car like this. I told her, I said, you know, I'll stop getting in trouble if you be my girlfriend. And she put me in this car, and we started going up this road, back down this winding road, until we hit the stretch, right? Usually when they took me to places, it didn't matter, man. I was always able to stay awake. But this time she took me up this road, what I know now is Interstate 75 North. So we're heading up this road. Okay. I wake up, and we're going up through a road that is freaking covered with trees. So you know me, I'm waking up like, ah! And then I see this big old building, and then off in the background I see these skyscrapers. And I asked the social worker, I said, where are we at? She said, I said, no, what are those buildings back there? She goes, oh, that's Cincinnati. I said, Cincinnati? I said, where's my mama now? Oh, they're back in Lexington. I said, how far is Lexington from Cincinnati? She goes, oh, I think it's about 90 miles away. Oh, so you know what I'm mad about, right? What can I do? I can't run. So I am ticked off. So I walk into this building, and the first thing I do is I punch the first kid that I saw. Boom! But man, I tell you what, I don't know who trained those workers there, but they were some Bruce Lee Kung Fu style people. Man, they had me in some type of move. I couldn't do nothing. They had me. By this time, 10, almost 11 years old, man, I'm all like, get off me! Fill in the blank, get off me! And man, he is zen calm. He's like, I can't get off you because your behavior is not correct. So I'm all like, you get off me right now. Oh, you're killing me. I can't breathe. Well, if you couldn't breathe, then you wouldn't be able to talk like that now, could you? So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll have to calm down. So I was the terror while I was there, right? For the first couple of months, but I didn't get to go home and see my mom and my brothers and sisters. So I had to figure this out. I was good at being bad. Right? I was good at being bad. But I had to figure out a way to get back to my mom and my brothers and sisters back in Lexington, 90 miles away. Right? So a year goes by. I maybe had one home visit. So I said, you know what? Let me fake it. I am going to fake my way out of this place. I have got the plan. I didn't tell nobody. I started doing it on my own. We get up from dinner. I didn't say nothing. We got up from dinner, man. All of a sudden, I saw the other boys that got finished eating. I go up to them and staff, because I always got to make sure staff was watching. Always. So I go to the other boys. I grab their plates. You done? You done? And I take them in the kitchen. But I got to always make sure that staff was watching. So I can walk on my way. Scrape them off, set them down, don't say nothing, go back to my room, be the first one in bed, showered up, ready to go. Next day, done with dinner, I don't say nothing, I pick up my plate, make sure when the boys are done scraping their plate, I grab the garbage bags, and I took them to the garbage can. But as I'm grabbing them, I'm all like, making sure they're looking. So then we had a wood shop down there. And no one wanted to mess with the wood shop because that's when you became the dirtiest, right? We got finished with the wood shop. It was like a recreational time. We got finished with the wood shop. I went and grabbed that big old push broom. Didn't say nothing. Started sweeping it up, all the dust and everything. Make sure they're looking. But then all of a sudden the wood shop director said, George, come here. I said, yes, sir. He said, you feeling okay? I was like, yeah, I'm feeling fine. So I'm doing this for about a month or 2 months, 3 months. And then all of a sudden, man, where they have their monthly, weekly meetings was right by the boys' room, right? And so I hear them in the morning meeting. As I get out of the shower and I go in to get dressed, get ready for school, I hear them talking. Like, yeah, you see Duval? Yeah, man, you see him? He's been doing this. He's been cleaning up. He swept wood shop. Man, he's doing real good. I'm all like, and I hear it, I go, my plan is working. Because my whole plan was to get back to my mom and my brothers and sisters, no matter what. And so about 6, 7 months go by, my attitude changed, and I'm thinking it the whole time, right? Then I'm sitting there, they say to me, hey man, you ever thought about foster care? I was like, man, I didn't really know, but as I was starting to get older, I was starting to understand. I was like, no. They said, I said, will it get me out of here? They said, oh yeah, they get you out of here. I was like, oh well, yes, I have thought about foster care. And so they got all the boys dressed up, right? They got the little duds on, they sent out the flyers to everybody in the community, and the community folks came over. And all the kids act like they didn't have no problems too. It was all like that. Man, your daughter's beautiful, just like you. But then all of a sudden these two kids come running over to me, right? They come running over to me. Man, all of a sudden we just left and went out there, went outside to the field out there that we had that we could do recreational stuff with. Started playing kickball, baseball, and chasing each other and all this other stuff. Didn't even see the parents. But I guess the parents were watching my interaction with their kids. So we were having a good time. Next thing you know, they called up the home and like, we'd like to take George out to eat on a Friday. So they took me to a place called Frisch's. And you know all the hoops you had to go to, so it wasn't like last week, it was probably like 3 years later, because that's the permission you got to get when you have to go somewhere in foster care. They have to tell the social worker had to tell the boss had to tell somebody else. You know what I mean. So they took me to a place called Frisch's. You ever heard of that? Uh-huh, gotcha. Yeah, Woolworths. Took me to a place called Frisch's, like a upscale McDonald's, right? So they took me there, man, and I sat beside the father, the son sat beside him, I sat beside me, and then the other son sat over there. The mother was on the other side of the father, the daughter was on that side, and we sat down, we got our menu, and I'm going through it, and the father says to me, George, what you need to get is the big boy with fries and extra tartar sauce. So you can dip your fries in the tartar sauce, because they're known for their tartar sauce. And all the other boys were going, So they all ordered that, and I'm all like, well, I'm a man too, I'm gonna order. So I ordered it. It came out, we ate, and then all of a sudden something strange happened to me, threw me off. It was like simultaneously, all the males at that table pushed back at the same time without even talking. They pushed back at the same time, and all three of them started rubbing their belly. So I was all like, I started rubbing my belly. And then the father looked at me and he said, George, I know you're not done. I was like, and then he calls the waitress over there, and he starts whispering to the waitress. Now, you start whispering, I think something's going on. No, he's like, and then he points at me. I'm thinking, this man just tell her that I'm going to pay the check. But all of a sudden, she walks off. But she comes back, and she's got this big, gigantic, hot fudge sundae with a cherry on top. And man, she said it in front of me. You already know I like sweets. No, that's what got me in trouble. Said it in front of me. I almost lost my mind. I was all like, hey. I told them, I said, excuse me, I need to go wash my hands. I'll be right back. I walked into the bathroom. Man, I looked under the first stall. Nobody was there. I looked under the second stall. Nobody was there. I realized I was in that bathroom all by myself, and I looked myself in the mirror and I said, this family is rich. They can afford dessert. Lord God, let them pick me. Pick me. So, it started working out well, right? So they came and got me on a Friday again. Got permission. I stayed the night with them on a Friday. Things started working out. They come get me on a Friday. I stayed the night with them on Saturday. Bring me back to the home. Things start working out, progressing a little bit more as the months go by. Pick me up on Friday, after church on Sunday, bring me back to the home. Next thing you know, I'm the foster kid. But make no mistake, my whole plan is to do what? Get back to my mama, my brothers and sisters, back home. I don't care what it took. And plus at this time, there's two things that I knew for sure. The world has taught me that no one cares about foster kids at that age. So there's no way this family can care about me. And two, I know they can't care about me because I'm black and they're white. So I moved into this community that I didn't know anything about. I grew up in the hood where everybody looked like me. So now I'm in the place where no one looks like me. I started school, ironically, on Martin Luther King's birthday. And it was funny too. You wanna know the funny part about it? Like there was a big bay window, and I started walking by with my new foster mom, my social worker, and all the kids are like, come here! They started waving towards the French, come here, come here. And I get in the door, and all of them are looking out the cafeteria. See? The person telling the other person, see, I told you black people are real, look. And so I was there in this community, man, and I was having to adjust. And it was weird because the first night being their actual son, kind of left a real impression on me, right? So they moved their oldest son out to a different room so me and their youngest son could be in the same room together. The daughter's room was the first one as you walk up the stairs. So I hear him, and I'm over there, I got my little bitty TV, that I had, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I hear him going to the daughter's room, they're like, good night, Tanya. Good night, Mom. Good night, Dad. We love you. Then they walk in, and their son is the first one you see on the bed. And I'm sitting there watching him. Man, they walk directly over to him. And I'm sitting there watching him, like, take the covers, pull it back, kiss him on the head. Good night, Shannon. Good night, Mom. Good night, Dad. We love you. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, that's so, huh? Oh, no, they're not walking towards me, are they? No. It played like, this is how it played out, like a scary movie. Right? This is how it played out in my mind. They're kissing their youngest son, right? Good night, Shannon. Good night, Mom. Love you too. And I take my covers, I'm all like, no. And I pull them off my head. But they come over there and they pull the covers off my head and they kiss me. Good night, George. We love you. I looked them both in the eyes. I was like, all right. I wasn't used to that. Back home, I'm go to bed. But it did something to me. It changed my life up. You ever had one of those feelings where you can't, you feel that, like that. And all this stuff hurt, I can't stop smiling. It did something to me. First time in my life I've ever had anybody tell me that they love me. It tripped me so bad now that I'm a father. I got three. I got a 15-year-old, I got a soon-to-be 6, and a soon-to-be 11. Right? So before my 6-year-old was born, and to this day, I sit down in my man cave, and I hear my 15-year-old, man, she's the leader. She has to lead the other kids. And so when she starts doing that stuff, man, it makes me feel good. So she's like, Jason, you go put the garbage away, make sure you do the dishes, load them, unload them, and she's helping out, she's doing all that stuff. I'm in my cave, man, all of a sudden I get all daddy on them. I'm like, hey, y'all need to come downstairs right now. And it messes them up. I'm like, what you doing? I don't know what you doing. They don't know what's going on, right? So I'm sitting there, and I got daddy eyes, and daddy eyes comes out, oh man, they're in trouble. I'm all like, I said, y'all need to get over here. So they start doing the shuffle. They don't want to walk fast, because they don't know what they did with all that. I said, y'all got 5 seconds to get over in front of me right now. 5, 4, 3. They're like, yeah, daddy? I'm like, look, I'm going to tell y'all something right now. I love you. And they're all like, love you too, Daddy, man. We thought we was in trouble. But that's what that one night did to me. Changed me. Being around a family changed me. That was the first time I've been around a man inside the home, right? And we sat down and we ate meals together. It threw me off every night. And every one of their meals were not from the government. So I was really thrown off. Like, they had Velveeta cheese. Man, that woman would cut through that Velveeta cheese with that knife like this. And if you have ever eaten government cheese in your life, you have never cut through it that fast. You are cutting through it like this. But it made a great sandwich. This lady, the mother, would make a Saturday lunch. She'd take the peanut butter, right? And she'd pop the top on it. Fresh! And if you ever had government peanut butter, you just had a big silver can that said what? USDA. USDA what? I don't know, open it up and see. And so you open it up, and the first thing you see is what? Oil. And you try to use a regular spoon, and all of a sudden it just bends on you. So you got to grab the big wooden one over top of the stove. Start churning it. And you know that old government bread, man, you couldn't even spread it on right. You couldn't. Potted meat?
You know, the meat in the can.
Nah, I kind of ran from that. So you start spreading it on with that peanut butter, right? And all of a sudden it just clump up. You just throw it all in your mouth. That's why people from the 80s got big jaws. And they messed around and told me the first day they had real milk in there, not powdered milk. And they had real cereal, Captain Crunch, and not King Vitamin. And you know the difference between Captain Crunch and King Vitamin. The Captain Crunch, King Vitamin did this. And I was changing after being there for a while, man. I moved there wearing hammer pants. That ain't what they wore in the countries of Kentucky. They wore tight Levi's, I'm talking tight Levi's, with penny loafers, no socks, and dimes in them. Now, as long as I was there, I was fine. But the minute I went home dressed like that on a home visit, not to the hood. The brother's like, you all right? Can you breathe? And this is, early 90s, so I had a Gumby haircut. Thank you, Bobby Brown. So I watched the younger son get dressed, right? He get dressed, man. He get ready. He put on his music, man. He rock. I was like, and I pick up his little cassette tape. I'm like, man, those are pretty girls. He said, man, that ain't no girl, dude. That's Poison. I was all like, I set it down, but man, he looked cool. He looked cool doing his thing, right? So I seen him. So when he got finished, I got my shower, took my shower, I got out. I did what he did. He had this big gooey substance that I would dip my hands in. And I tried to rub it all through my head like he did. But it didn't work out. So I was all like, just patted it on up. And then I took his big silver can that he used. Shook it up like he did, right? And what I know now is Aquanet. Man, it looked like Spider-Man just went, wow, all over my head. And it was cool because the people up there, they didn't really understand. But the minute I got home, my mom would say, see, that's a shame. let that little boy do to his head. And they mess around one time, and one thing people of color should never run out of is what? Lotion. Lotion. This family ran out of lotion for me. So I did the next best thing. I grabbed their Vaseline on a hot August day on my way into the pool. So I'm always we started walking down the country road, man. I'm all like, but yeah, man, hold on. Y'all gonna have to slow down. Why is my skin boiling? The only good thing about having all that Vaseline on and going to the swimming pool, I was the only kid there that could dive in, come out, just shake dry, just keep on walking. And I remember going home on a home visit, man, because my style was changing, right? The music I was listening to, the way I was, it was changing. And I wanted to get back to my mom and them, but then again, I wanted to stay there. So I was confused, conflicted. Now I'm turning 16 years old after being there several years, right? So I'm driving home, I'll get home, and I'm riding around my best friend from the hood, his brother and his brother's friend. And we're in the back seat, and his brother's friend's over in the front seat. All of a sudden, man, we're driving through Lexington, just rolling. And he starts turning the radio. And I said, psh, psh, psh. Man, this song came on. I was like, hold on, right there, right there. And I jump up out the back seat, and I was like, yeah, pour some sugar on me. Man, Larry's brother was driving, was like, seriously, a heart attack. I started shuffling. I said, I'm hot, sticky, sweet. All of a sudden, Larry's brother was like, hey man, you gonna have to get your white butt out of my car, man. I was changing. You know, I talk about those things, man, because it was released, but what happened is I was confused. I was starting to lose my identity. I didn't know who I was. I was a foster kid. When I stayed up there in the white world, I wasn't black, I was white. But when I went back home in the black world, I was white. I wasn't me. You know, I remember girls having a conversation. No, you kiss him. No, you kiss him. No, he'll swallow my head. Talk about my lips being so big. But I was confused, and no one had the answer, including the family that I was living with. I didn't know where to go. I had no purpose. Felt love, yes. But when I brought things to them, they didn't know how to answer. Their answer was, don't worry about it, let God take care of it. But I'm from the hood, man. You use the N-word where I'm from, you gotta knuckle up. But see, something's changed. I passed that 13-year-old mark where people said I was gonna be dead or in prison. People are telling me I can go to college. I can do it. And I believed them. Football was my vehicle. Man, I was the best. It was my vehicle, but it was not me. It was just something where I could go to hone my skills, learn leadership, and believe in myself. So all these different things are going on around my world. And there's one family that could relate to what's going on because they have a black child that went through some of the same things that I was going through. But he wasn't in foster care, but we became friends. So at 16, so it's almost been 5 years, over 5 years since I've been with this first family. They come to me and they say, well, we're moving out to Washington State. So I'm like, hold, what do you mean? Am I going? They're like, nah, you're not going. So I'm all like, now here's this investment, 5.5 years, right? I'm only a couple years away from graduating. You remember where I wanted to go? I wanted to get back home to my mother now, right? Now I'm sitting there thinking, if I get back home, I am going to be doomed. But I got to do what I got to do. So I go to my best friend, right? And I tell him, I said, man, I said, looks like I'm going back to Lexington. He said, what do you mean? I said, yeah, I said, the mines are moving out to Washington, man. and I don't have no place to go. I've been doing great. My grades are up, A's, B's. I'm doing, football at the end of the school year. They're probably gonna send me back to Lexington. So he's all sad because we are like tight, right? That's my brother, my dog. So he's like, man, I'm gonna hate to see you go, G, I was like, yeah, I said, I know. So the next day we get back to school, he comes running up to me, he's like, G, man, I talked to my parents, and they said if they qualify, they'll be your foster parents. And I was all like, for real? Really? So they qualified, man. This family stepped up for me, right? Teenager. And you all know who plays a teenager, you know that's not easy. They stepped up for me, and they brought me in, and they treated me just like their kid. I remember going to Alabama for the first time for a family reunion. Family reunion so big, we all got to wear names on the back because everybody don't know each other. So we go down there, and her Uncle Bubba, he kind of wobbles. And you get down there, and it's a whole different dialect. Oh, there that boy. And he looks at the mother. He goes, "Hey, mom, who that there?" Points to me. She said, "Uncle Bubba, that's my son George." She goes, "We're going up there here and get you some of that barbecue, that boy." I was like, all I heard was heels, so I started walking. But you remember that feeling I had in my head when the first family told me that they loved me? See, I had that feeling again as I walked up the hill. You know why? What did she do? She said, "That's my son." Okay. Now, if her Uncle Bubba did not know that I wasn't her real son, I guess Bubba's a good name, isn't it? They didn't allow me to make excuses for myself. She put an end to me complaining about foster care. So what in foster care? Do you think you're going to be here forever? You better get your education because the day is coming and it's coming quick. And it was all like one of those things. It was one of those moments where you're like, yeah, I guess I better get it right, don't I? They told me that education was the way. Because once I get educated, it can never be taken away from me. And they meant it. They meant it so much. I'm this big football star, right? I came home with a D in biology. They put an end to that. It was like, what is this? I said, it's a D. Oh, I know it's a D. Why do you have it? So I pulled out a teenage, no one uses biology. I don't understand her. She said, okay, well, check this out. And the father, he was the quiet one. He was always standing behind her going. And she said, understand this. If you don't get that D up to a B by next week, there would be no bowling ball George Duvall. I was all like, oh, blasphemy. I didn't say that out loud. Because I remember one time I snapped and got smart with her. And then my brother, my best friend, said, man, you don't have to take that from her. Go call your social worker. She was like, all right. Went and grabbed the coolest phone. Said, call him. Call him. I said, man, I didn't say that. He did. They treated me like their own. So when I left there, I told them, I will be the first person in my family to graduate from college. I meant it. I meant it so much that I sacrificed the one thing that helped me get there. And that's football. I was on my way. I've got friends that are in the league now that I know I could have played. But when I came and I got that progress report after that first year and it said 1.5, I'm getting ready to lose scholarships and I'm getting ready to lose my financial aid. And my parents told me, yeah, we're kind of disappointed in you first year. I was like, all right. I grabbed my pads. I fell asleep in class. Well, this is what did it. I fell asleep in class one day. Front row. I stayed in the front row. Fell asleep in class. Woke up and nobody was there. The professor let me sleep. And I was mad. So I stormed up to his office, right? And I said, why you let me sleep? And this was after morning practice. He said, Well, you look like you were tired. And oh, by the way, you fell in my class. I was all like, man, I got to do something about this. Man, I went and grabbed my pads. I took them to the coach, told him, it's a wrap. I got to focus on my school because I meant what I said. These folks invested in me. And after that, man, this is what I did. I sat down and wrote 3 people a letter in my college after I realized how important they were to me. The first one was to my angel, right? Why did this lady even stay involved in my life? It makes no sense. I've been this bad kid this entire time, but this woman stayed committed to me. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for that, for those years, for the dedication, the investing that she did. The second was to my biological mother, because at this time, I'm 19, almost 20. I realized that foster care was not my fault. It's not like I woke up one day and said, yep, looks like a good day to go to foster care. So I stopped blaming myself. I stopped blaming myself. And I took the letter to her, and I had to read it to her because my mama can't read or write her own name. So I read it to her, and the only words I remember is, Mom, I know foster care is not my fault. Finished reading the rest of it. I gave her the letter, and I walked out the door, and I did like this. I was free. The last one was to my second family. Because as a 16-year-old in the world of foster care, man, it is tough to be placed. But they stepped up, they gave me power, they empowered myself, they empowered my soul, right? So I wanted to thank them for taking me on as I started to understand foster care more as I got out of care. So as I graduated from college, my best friend was there, the one who went to his parents. He went to his parents, man. And when I moved to that house, my best friend became my brother. First one down there when I graduated college. Then after that, he joined the Navy, got married August of 2001, came back off his honeymoon, and September 11th happened. His was the first ship to be deployed, USS Detroit. So now we got a whole different type of word. So I'm sitting there writing them letters like, man, don't worry about it. I'm going to go get my nieces and nephews. They can come down and hang with us. You just worry about what's going on. Here's the scores of the game. This is where I'm traveling to next. And he write me letters back, blah, blah, blah. And then one day, man, I got this big old letter. It like tripled the letters that he would normally send. And he had chronicled our whole first meeting when we were in 5th grade together, from that point till now. And I used to write him letters in college because as a foster kid, insecurity is like a part of our lives. And so when you find something that you love and you care about, you don't want to lose it, right? So I used to write him letters in college like, hey man, I know I'm in college and I'm not always around, but don't forget about me, man. Don't forget about me. And he used to send me letters back, one letter, just a couple of words. Man, ain't nobody gonna forget about your book. Stop being a punk. And so he sent me this big old letter, man, when he was over in Afghanistan. And it kind of, it rocked me because it was so thick. But I'm sitting there at my desk, and I'm sitting there reading. My wife was back there. I go through and I read it. And then he says to me, I'm getting ready to say something to you that I never said. He goes, you remember that time when you was in college and you thought we was going to lose love from each other because we were so far away? He goes, now that I'm far away, I realize now how much important we are to each other. He goes, and I was standing on a ship last night and I started crying. I'm not like, crying. He goes, and these are the truest words you'll ever hear from me. He said, I watched all of my tears fall into the ocean. And the day you find those tears, bro, will be the day I stop loving you. And I'm sitting at the computer stand, all of a sudden I'm all like, I mean, I can't even control it. So I have to run to the bathroom. And I'm all, and my wife is like, what's wrong with you? I'm all like, read this. So she starts reading, she gets to the question. You got the best brother ever. And we created this stupid handshake, right? When I moved in with him, I mean, it's so stupid. But we said, once we create it, whenever we see each other and leave each other, we have to do it, right? So, I mean, it's stupid, man. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So he made it home after, a year and a half. He came home, with that little stupid handshake. Even our kids go, oh, here they go, here they go. Even the kids are like, he came home and I said to him, look, man, I'm glad you're home. I'm glad you made it back. But if you ever write a letter like that again, I'll kill you. And before I end, one of the biggest reasons why I do this, it's not just for me. It's for folks like you who work with young people. It's very empowering because we're not going to be here long, right? But we get to leave a legacy with these kids and have them build from there. As long as we are here and involved in their life. I will not be here if it wasn't for folks like you who have gave time, right? And so I like to fly out of Cincinnati because I get to go back home. I get to chill with my family. But these people, when I tell you that they gave me purpose, this is the biggest reason why. So I guess about 8 years ago, I was flying from Cincinnati, flying back in from California into Cincinnati, and I always stop by. So I don't know, Mom, I'm sitting there, and she has the worried look, she does this a lot when she gets worried. I said, what's wrong with you? And I was rubbing her leg. She's like, nothing. I just filled out my will. I said, what? She goes, yeah, Greg and I filled out a will. We can't get nobody to sign it. I was like, oh, no. I said, I'll go get my wife. I said, no, I'll sign it. She goes, nah. I was like, it's no problem. That's just another reason I have a barbecue. We'll have a will sign a barbecue. She's like, no, silly. You can't do that. I was like, why? She's like, because people that are in the will can't sign it. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's pretty cool. So I hopped in the car, and I'm heading back down 75 South, towards my house. And I get there, all of a sudden, man, I realize for about 20 minutes, my shirt is completely wet. I'm crying, and I didn't even know it. Because what they said is what every kid wants, every person needs. And that's to feel like they belong. And his family said that. Even if they left me a bottle cap and a pack of Skittles, it doesn't matter. Because what they told me in that instance was that I am a part of their family. And when they pass on, a part of my soul is going with them. So it does work. Is every kid you work with going to be up here on the stage? Maybe not. But isn't it worth a try? That's why you got in the business, right? You have to invest in a man. It's a bank relationship. You deposit, they deposit. Like I was telling John earlier, sometimes those nuts are hard to crack, aren't they? They build them walls up. Yeah, take a sledgehammer of love. My folks did. I don't worry about nothing no more. Life does not worry me no more because someone invested in me. And that is why I am here today. If it wasn't for their investment, I would not be here. And so we just have to do that with those tough kids. I really appreciate you all inviting me down here again. This is the first time to San Antonio. And it was a great experience. You guys are some great people. I hope the conference was great. Thank you for your time. I think they're going to do a raffle after this is over with. Please look me up on Facebook and YouTube and subscribe to my channel. And I've got some CDs here if you want to buy some too. So thank you very much for your time. You guys have a wonderful